Howdy, folks. John Pelham. Good to be back with you today. Um, Today's video is going to be kind of just a compilation of comments and statements that I've heard over the last two sermons in a series that Pastor Justin and Austin and others are doing for our church on biblical perspectives of time. And it's a topic that I've never really given much thought to, but they have, so far we've had two sermons on that from Justin and Austin, and I'm going to just kind of do a little bit of a review, not a review, but just a compilation of comments that they have made. Justin's first sermon had to do with what is God's perspective on time versus our perspective on time, and as you probably would understand, they're considerably different. And Austin used a title for his sermon, "Making the Most of Our Time, Most of the Time," which I thought was, these have been two of the most excellent sermons that I've heard in a long time. And by the way, before I forget it, they're both available on the YouTube YouTube channel of First Christian Church Granbury, and I would suggest that you take a look at them. They're both very, very good. Justin's sermon dealt with primarily the passage from 2 Peter chapter 3, verses 8 and 9. But do not forget this one thing, dear friends. With the Lord, a day is like 1,000 years, and 1,000 years are like a day. The Lord's not slow in keeping his promise, as some understand slowness. Instead, he is patient with you, not wanting anyone to perish, but everyone to come to repentance. Austin's perspective came from verses out of Ecclesiastes that many of us, maybe me particularly, have not spent much time talking about or looking at. But these passages, Ecclesiastes 2nd chapter, verses 22 through 26. What do people get for all the toil and anxious striving with which they labor under the sun? All their days their work is grief and pain. Even at night their minds do not rest. This too is meaningless. A person can't do anything better than to eat and drink and find satisfaction in their own toil. This too, I see, is from the hand of God. For without him, who can eat or find enjoyment? To the person who pleases him, God gives wisdom, knowledge, and happiness, but to the sinner, he gives the task of gathering and storing up wealth, to hand it over to the one who pleases God. This too is meaningless, a chasing after the wind. These two sermons on the biblical perspectives on time both emphasize the differences between ours and God's perspectives on time. Just a couple of examples. God doesn't live in the exigencies, in the anxiety of urgency. The anxiety of urgency is a phrase, concept that Justin used in his sermon. I take the anxiety of urgency to really be our anxious response to any kind of urgent demands on our time, any kind of urgent goals that we have to set. And God is not anxious about these urgencies. There's no urgency with God. God says to breathe, be the best we can be, Um, our purpose is to be the best we can be, and it's about being the best we can be. Um, we don't have time. We don't have enough time to do the things we think we need to do. God has no time, does not have a concept of time. As Justin says, he's Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end. Austin's sermon dealt with how do we use our time? Do we have a goal to get from point A to point B without thinking about what are the little nuances of time and space that we may overlook in our attempt to reach some particular goal? And that we need to, as some people say, we need to take time to smell the roses. So often we hear that time is money, but the reality is that time is whatever we value the most. Time is money, power, competition. Time can also be love and joy and hope and peace and grace and laughter. Each of us every day make decisions about how we use our time. We prioritize whatever choice, work or rest or whatever, that will get us closer to the goal that we have in mind. At the end of the day, our vision we have for ourselves and the situation we're in. Key to holding the tension between work and rest is letting our end goal, our motivation, be rooted in God, not in our own ego. So often our egos are tied up in outcomes where God is found in the process. I find myself many times, and particularly in my work life, just going from one crisis, you might say, to another. As we mature in life, and I'm certainly an example of aging, we should also mature in our concept of how we use our time. I think there's plenty of opportunities for all of us, whether we're retired or not, plenty of opportunities for us to use our time in the best way we can to serve others, to serve God, and be the kind of people that we need to be in the best way we can be. And if we're using our time and our talents for that end, I think we might be on the right track. Just a couple of other things. The writer of Ecclesiastes reminds us that life is full of tensions, and then more often than not, we are called to hold that tension in faith, trusting God to work out things in God's time. Keep feeding people, keep showing up, keep loving. God will use it all of the doing. But the magic in all of it is when our doing happens not because of our own anxiety, tied up in results and outcomes, but when we experience the joy, laughter, love, and meaning in the moment. Folks, this is just a real quick and hitting some of the highlights. I really urge you, if you want to take a better look at this, to go to YouTube and find those two sermons. I think they would bring a lot more meaning to you. Appreciate you watching. Hope you'll watch us again next time. And in the meantime, just stop and figure out what you ought to be doing, not what you think you have to do. Appreciate it. See you next time. Bye-bye.